Well, Nepal has a problem that possibly no other country in the world has. It's got too many tigers, and there are now an estimated 350 tigers in the wild there. And that is thanks to a highly successful program that included doubling its forest cover and combating poaching. But Nepal's Prime Minister says there are too many, and there's been a rise in deadly tiger attacks in recent years. Now the government wants to reduce numbers by sending these wildcats to other countries as gifts, so one might call it tiger diplomacy. I spoke with Dr Ghana Shyam Gurung from the World Wildlife Fund earlier and began by asking him if he believes Nepal has too many tigers.
To me, that a Prime Minister has made a very much emotionally charged statement after he might have probably spoken to directly affected individuals and concerned groups. So we believe the tiger numbers are within the range of a carrying capacity of the important habitats like Chiton Parsa, India Balmiki Complex, and Bardea Banke, and Soelba and Katarnia Ghat. These are two major complexes where we have most of the tigers, and their carrying capacity is still in the range. So we don't say there are too many tigers, but tiger numbers have tripled, and that's good news in terms of numbers.
Now, one of the main reasons why Prime Minister Oli Sharma wants numbers to come down is because of this rise in tiger attacks in recent years, 40 deaths since 2019. So what's behind these increasing attacks?
The increasing attacks are particularly that one, the connection between the not having too many tigers. Prior to that, this particular growth of number happened after 2009 onwards. Because we had a very low tiger number prior to 2005, which was had almost 10 years of insurgency that constricted the security post of the parks, community engagement. So we had a very heavy loss of tigers to the poachers. So tigers and rhinos have suffered a huge loss to the poachers. And as tiger numbers came out, the change in a generation, the numbers coming up quickly, and that has some kind of behavioral aspect to it. When you see tigers today, the attacks are more in the parks. So we really need to we have done a substantial behavior campaign change, where tigers will not change, they are wild. We have to change our human behaviors. And because of that, recent years, the death has been much more lesser. And this year, we can report 10, only 3 to date. So I think that's one of the reasons. The second is when you have more tigers, they're going to get out. So that's also the possibility that had happened. So that these are combination not only increasing tiger numbers per se, it is how we are approaching the tigers. That's also critically important.
So what needs to change, though, for these attacks to come down? How do Nepalese increasingly be able to live with a growing number of tigers?
I mean, if Nepali people in the lowlands have lived with the tigers centuries and centuries. That's the reason we had tigers, and now we have more tigers. There are more strategies. The primary strategy is make sure that we, under the impact of climate change, the water scarcity is happening, the grasslands are changing. So we really need to manage grasslands and wetlands and more in the parks, where so higher densities of tigers can be maintained within the parks. On the other side, that communities' behavior change and awareness has to be improved. And if you look at that, how many thousands and thousands of people, tourists come into parks, and we haven't heard much on that. See, so because of that, the behavioral aspects are critically important to change. And most importantly, people living in and around the park, particularly around the parks, need to enter to the parks for subsistence livelihoods. That we need to improve their lives and livelihoods, so they don't have to enter to the parks to avoid or minimize the loss of the human lives, which are important and most important for us to all work together to minimize that loss. And the lives and livelihoods need to be improved. And one thing that we really need to understand is that tourist tiger numbers are not only tiger per se as a conservation, it is also one of the economic pillars of the wildlife tourism, which creates hundreds of thousands of jobs, and which many people don't talk about it. So it's important that we manage, and management is happier to manage. Not having tigers is a more problem than having more tigers. Being able to manage is better, but management has to be the primary focus, not the growth at this stage.
Dr. Gurung, I am really curious to get your thoughts on what the Prime Minister wants to do, because he says he only wants there to be 150 tigers, and that means that Nepal could be sending as many as 200 tigers abroad as gifts. So what do you make of such a plan?
Numbers, I think, is not an issue. It's how you're going to manage is an issue. But more importantly, I would refer to Prime Minister giving gifts or giving away tigers to other countries. That's a possibility. That you can give healthy tigers to countries who want to restock or rewild or reintroduce tigers. There are countries, and that countries, receiving countries, need to be prepared to have a secure habitats and prey base for the tigers to thrive. And other side, that we have also given rhinos recently to China. The possibility is always there. Having said that, but all tigers, the problematic tigers, that we still need to be managed within the country, and that's what we all working, making our efforts to manage that.
Yes, and as tiger population grows in Nepal, are you concerned about trafficking in and out of Nepal?
I'm not much of a concern on that. After the 2010 onwards, when Nepal really made a consolidated efforts under the Prime Minister, chairpersonship of the Prime Minister, as a Tiger Coordination Committee authority, and then there's a Nepal National Parks Department with the Nepal Army made a substantial investment and efforts to protecting these species, where we have achieved zero poaching of rhinos year after year. And the tigers and rhinos are sharing the same habitat. Both the endangered species have done well. And same thing, Nepal police and the judiciary of Nepal has made an excellent effort to control wildlife crime, as Nepal is considered as a wildlife transit. The transit is very much under control. And most importantly, I would say local communities and particularly youths have made an excellent contribution to protecting their wildlife, providing intelligence, being a tourist guides, all from every angle. And that's why we have done so much. And institutions like us and many international agencies and national NGOs have made a substantial contribution in terms of financial, technical, and also technological solutions to protect wildlife. And because of that, we are where we stand today under the sea of a people, growing population, growing infrastructure development. That is the fragmenting tiger habitats, growing cattle numbers. All of that is still, we have now good number of tigers. We are the one, probably the first country to double, triple tiger numbers. And that's why I would say it's another issue of having too many. As I was referring to again, the capacity is there. That it's really need to manage the numbers very well and making sure that we benefit from tigers, not only conservation and ecological services, but also tourism, wildlife tourism is one of the economic drivers of Nepal at this stage.
Okay, Dr. Ghana Shyam Gurung, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
No worries. Thank you.